Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be testing out this craft kit from the Horizon group. It's called Do It Yourself Creative You Bath Bombs. Now I've never actually tried making bath bombs, so I thought this craft kit would be a good way to start and a good way to see how the process works. I did find this at Ross on clearance for $149, the original price being $12.99. And so I will be testing this kit, but also you'll hear my final thoughts and review on it. And it will be dependent on if you can find it at the $199 price or if you find it at the $12.99 price. So this kit promises to be able to make 6 bath bombs. Starting out, just looking at the materials, they give you some baking soda, a bath bomb mixture, 2 scents being vanilla and sage, coconut oil, a spoon, 2 mica powders in pink and gray, and 2 different flowers, and a mold for 3 bath bombs. Now, you do have to do 3 at a time with the bath bombs. And I will say I really did appreciate that the 2 bags of powder were resealable. Instructions were really nice. It was in color, it had pictures to help guide you, but some grammatical errors, which for a company who's selling a product, they should really focus in on making sure everything is clear. This kit does include everything you need. All you have to provide is the water, a mixing bowl, and some measuring spoons. So after getting my materials ready and getting my setup ready, I start with measuring out the baking soda, which I will say was pretty complicated to do inside that bag, so I ended up using some of the packaging to help measure out the baking soda evenly. I wanted to be as close and as precise as possible as to not mess up the final product. After adding in the baking soda, I got out the bath bomb mixture and measured it out. Now I will say this bath bomb mixture was very difficult to measure out. I had to break it up and squish it because it had lots of rocks and lots of clumps in it. After adding the baking soda and the bath bomb mixture, the instructions tell you to mix the two together with your hands. After this is fully mixed, the instructions say you can add in your choice of the dried flowers. I went for the blue ones and ended up using the whole vial. And then you're supposed to add in your mica powder. I went with pink. The instructions said 1/4 of the mica powder, but I ended up adding in the whole packet because it didn't really dye it. And even with the full packet, it barely made any color. The next step is to add in your coconut oil and to choose your scent. For this first set, I chose to use vanilla. The instructions tell you to use 15 drops, but even with 15 drops, I didn't really smell anything, so I ended up adding in the whole bottle, but it still didn't really change anything because there was no scent to it. And so from here, you're supposed to slowly add in your water and mix it in together. For me, it was easier to mix it in together with my hands because the coconut oil was still very solid even after leaving it in hot water. And although I was dropping the water very slowly, it was still fizzing up. Once the bath bomb mixture was completely mixed together, the instructions tell you to pack it in into the mold. The mold really did surprise me. I didn't think it was gonna hold up well since it was plastic, but it was pretty strong and it was very durable. I will say that for this first set of 3, the measurements were exactly correct. It was exactly enough to pack all 3 of them to the brim. And the instructions tell you to leave it in there after they're packed for a minute, but I left mine in for about 10 minutes to ensure that they wouldn't fall apart. And I will say that the residue on your hands was very easy to wash out with just a little bit of water. After the 10 minutes, I released the bath bombs from the molds, and these first 3 actually were released very nicely. They didn't fall apart. During those 10 minutes, I went ahead and made the second batch of bath bombs with the sage scent, the gray mica powders, and the rose petals. And so then I packed it into the mold. However, I did have a lot of excess with this set. I ended up being able to make half of another bath bomb, but I was left over with baking soda and coconut oil, and so those kind of were just left off extra, but nothing else was really left out. These did crumple up a lot more when releasing them. And after being released, they're very fragile and they do crumple up very easily. To test out the bath bombs, I put in one of the gray ones and one of the pink ones, and the little extra half that I did. These bath bombs really didn't fizz up a lot, and it didn't really change the water much, and there was very little to no scent. But there wasn't a residue on the bottom of the bowl. It wasn't really greasy. You could feel the coconut oil, but it wasn't like a grease. It was more of a lotion kind of feeling. Although the flower petals didn't dissolve and they kind of just hanged around on the sides of the bowl. Now, as my final review, I would say for the $2 that I paid, I would say it's worth it. It did keep me entertained, and it gave me the finished bath bomb product. But for $12, I wouldn't recommend it. It was very faulty in lots of areas, as I mentioned earlier. And so for $12, I don't think it's worth it. But for $2, I would definitely say it is. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and God bless you.